to everybody in the room, apart from you guys.
Now.
You'll have to be my translator. Hopefully people can hear me eventually. And then we can start properly.
Now I can't hear him.
I can hear him on the phone. Yeah.
Ah, so you can't hear me now, but you can hear me on the actual
I can
stream.
hear him fine
Okay.
on the stream.
You can hear him on the stream. A lot of good.
He's on. He's in.
Don't we love a technical snag, a technical glitch?
Yeah. Do you have the chat open, Ty? Can you read the chat on YouTube?
Let's have a look.
I'm wondering if we might have some questions later, then you can kind of maybe address some of those potentially.
Yeah, I got the chat.
He's got the chat.
It's weird because I can see your audio channel, I can see my audio channel, and I can't see his audio channel. But I'm getting his audio. So it's coming in from somewhere.
It's fed in, but it wants to be elusive to Daniel.
That's right.
So yeah, I will just carry on a little bit because might as well. Whilst Daniel asks,
Found
let you in the background. Oh, he can get out. He's got me now.
Okay. All right. And then we're
right now has an echo.
Oh, somebody else has said they can't hear me again.
Of course we do.
But I don't know if
Of course we do.
I think we're all
now we can hear him. There we go.
I know why I can't hear him. I figured it out.
okay.
So I do see one question that says LEP needs a Stream VR link app, and they actually have the one we've just talked about a minute ago. Is it ALVR?
Yeah.
Steam. Now I've not tried it, but that's where you guys come in when you do finally get your Vision Pro all hooked up.
It's funny because I went to go look at that earlier, and there was an article about Clear XR, and then that kind of led me down this rabbit hole for ALVR for Apple Vision Pros. So I would recommend that's the application he's referring to as ALVR. So
yeah, and the thing is, before this existed, I think before they made Apple made the PSVR 2 controllers compatible.
Oh,
and so there was like a third-party manufacturer making some controllers, and so people were using that. But obviously now it's going to be far better, having a technically first third-party kind of connection to it, like official connection to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's funny that the PSVR 2 controllers, you can't buy them from Sony, but you can buy them from Apple. How does that work out?
I can't even buy them. They're not even available still in the UK as far as I'm aware. You can buy them in the States. I can't buy them standalone still.
You want me to send you a set so you can play around with them?
Yes, please. Yeah, please. I think I asked Preston ages ago. It was like, we've only got like one set, man. We can't send you any more.
We do only have one set. It is crazy. We just don't keep a lot of them on hand. Well,
just for testing, really.
Yeah, really just one cable for the PSVR 2 to test. Then we have one set of controllers to test. I have one broken controller for parts.
And we have one PS5 because sometimes the PSVR 2s will work on the PC, but they won't work on the PS5 or vice versa.
It's really weird. Yeah.
That is bizarre.
Yeah.
So we always have at least one of everything to test things. One default, like, this Quest 3 motherboard. This is a good board. Don't sell this board. You have to use it for testing. So,
and this is why I'm friends with these guys, because I don't have all of them.
That's right.
It sucks. I can't buy this.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't think it's available here in the UK.
That's interesting. I wonder if I could look at the UK.
If it is, then I'll be surprised. But last time I looked, it wasn't.
I did want to get this going kind of officially, since all of our audio issues are worked out. There was something that I posted. So we bought the Apple Vision Pro like 3 or 4 weeks ago now. And basically when I posted it, I was so excited. I posted a photo of it on the YouTube channel and was like, my comment was, just got a new toy to play with. What kind of videos do you guys want to see about it? And the audience reaction to this kind of surprised me. I was not expecting the chaos to ensue. So I'm just going to read off some comments so I can get your natural reactions to this. Number one, how big of an explosion can it make? How many degrees Celsius can it withstand? Let's see. The next. Oh God, not the Apple Vision Pro. Just tear it apart. Throw it against the wall to reduce it to atoms. What?
I'm gonna get
Durability.
hit here.
Yeah, durability test with a sledgehammer. Durability test with an oven. Figure out why it's worse yet more expensive. Smash it and bring it back and say, "Oops, I dropped it." So, I mean, and the list just goes on. There's dozens and dozens of these comments, and you commented on it too. But I guess my question was, it just seems like there are some preconceived notions about what the Apple Vision Pro is, why it's so expensive, and I think I try to talk about this on the channel a lot. Because I'll talk about Pimax for a little bit, or I'll talk about the Big Screen Beyond 2, or I'll talk about the Apple Vision Pro or whatever. And they always kind of get compared across like the price metric across, and because that is the biggest demographic of VR users is the Quest people. I'm a Quest user, Preston's Quest, everybody got a Quest, but it's interesting how that's just become the barometer for whether or not a headset is good. And the other features that it seems to offer sort of get outweighed by that one thing. It's like, it doesn't matter that it can do this, it doesn't matter that it can do that. So one of the big things that I kind of wanted to talk about was like, what does the Apple Vision Pro do and offer that you just can't get in other headsets? And is that worth the cost, or are we paying the early adopter fee on it?
I assume that's coming to me. So I will help. I will help you with that. So I actually genuinely believe that VR has suffered from one massive issue, and that massive issue is first impressions have been very, very mixed based on who you put it on their head. And I think that what we've found over the years, especially with working for the company that I've worked with, River, for a long time, is that we've put it on so many different people who aren't into VR, that don't understand what it's like to wear a headset and don't know what they're getting into. And their preconceived notion is that they'll feel sick. They're going to vomit. It's not going to make them feel very well. And I know that that is quite an old kind of thought process these days, but I actually think Apple chose to come into this. Yes, if we put aside the price and the Apple tax and the build they chose to go with in terms of materials, their approach is to try and change that opinion for a mass market. Yeah. So at the moment, no, the product is too expensive for most people to even think about buying, especially if you are a traditional VR user and you want to play full 6-star games and you want really good titles and high fidelity. You know, you're going to be tethered to a PC if you want that quality most of the time anyway. But if you want to kind of still play full 6-star and stuff, you can't really go wrong with something like a Quest or something like that. Yeah, Vision Pro is not that product. I think the Vision Pro has been pushed into doing things with, say, PSVR 2 controllers because people have asked for it. But I think that Apple wanted to make it this hub of media, I think, media and productivity more than interactive gaming device. And I know that sounds very weird for the price point. So
I mean, it doesn't sound crazy, because I mean, I imagine that from a business perspective, it seemed like it came out around the same time that Apple was really pushing hard on the Apple TV stuff, and it almost seems designed to pair very well with that. You know, it's like, oh, you want the full fidelity, the quality of Apple TV. You want to be able to watch movies directly in this headset. I guess another thing too, though, is like, do you think that it'll stay that way forever? Because Apple's like the news in the tech industry, you know, outside of like all of the AI and NVIDIA DLSS 5 stuff, has been the Apple releasing the MacBook Neo and really dropping the price on that and finding ways to make that an affordable consumer product, so much so that you've got other companies sort of reacting to it and trying to figure out how they're going to offset the disruption that Apple's kind of invoked here. Makes you wonder if we are going to get a lighter, cheaper Apple Vision Pro at some point down the road. That's hard.
Yeah, I can kind of predict, because Apple can be quite predictable what they do. And I'm not turning around saying that I've got insider knowledge or I'm Mark Gurman, this big Apple leaker, but What I would turn and say is that if you look at the past, it always seems to repeat itself. And you look at this new MacBook Neo as an example, they've kind of waited and waited and waited, and then they've kind of just dropped this thing into the right demographic, students, people that don't need power, they don't need to do loads of video editing, and they've utilized their own silicon to power this very low cost device really for the appeal and the coolness of Apple as well. They can just go and buy it and it's really not that expensive. If you look at something like Vision Pro is like the equivalent of price wise, like buying a MacBook Pro. It's just extremely expensive. This was never going to be, and Tim Cook has already said it, this was never going to be a mass market product, but they have to start somewhere.
Right.
And they chose to go with the route that wasn't loss leading in, say, like Meta's way and make it cheap and try and sell big. They've gone with, we want to try and make something of the product, make it mature. Once we make it mature, and actually this is a lot of people's misunderstanding about where Apple are going and why they think it's dead and it's not, Apple Vision Pro is dying and is going to be stopped. They have invested so heavily in immersive video media. Like, it's like their souped up version of 3D 180 immersive media, and worked with Blackmagic Design. I don't know if you know much about them, but camera manufacturer Blackmagic Design, to create a camera that shoots this ultra high resolution 16K 90 FPS stereo and media, and it's incredible. If you've never seen it, you need to see it. It's why the Vision Pro is probably one of the best viewing devices of media. And Apple are not going to release a product that's cheaper until they can maybe bring a sequel to Vision Pro that's better. So it's got better quality resolution, panels, better chipset, because then they can bring in the entry level one at the resolution of the original Vision Pro,
Right.
and keep the quality of that media. If you really think about it logically, why would they want to bring out a cheaper version like a Vision Air or just a Vision and have the media that they've invested in with Blackmagic be downgraded, the quality of it be downgraded? So I would look at something like 2027, 2028, maybe component costs are cheaper, and then they can kind of consider what they can do. But obviously there are a lot of things in between there. They may be looking at things like glasses first, and how Meta have done with Ray-Ban and Oakley.
Well, it's funny to me too about you, because you're talking about how there's this perception that the Apple Vision Pro is a big failure, and I think commercially, like when you look at the numbers, it probably didn't sell as well as Apple wanted it to. But within the industry, I keep seeing the Apple Vision Pro as, in a way, a trendsetter for a lot of the things that we've gotten over the last year and a half. Is like when I see a headset like the Big Screen Beyond 2 for the first time, it's like, oh, it's got concave pancake lenses like the Apple Vision Pro. Or like when we were at CES this past year, it's like, oh yeah, the Pimax Dream Air has the same OLED panels that are in the Apple Vision Pro, by the way, and you see that, I think, a lot in the verbiage, at least within the industry. I don't know if it's as much online, but when I'm going to these conventions and talking, it's like, oh, it's got Sony micro OLEDs, just like the Apple Vision Pro, and you see that, oh, we have an extended battery puck, just like the Apple Vision Pro. And so it's weird that this headset that really didn't make a wave as like commercially, it didn't sell as many units as some of these other headsets, has become a trendsetter that other headset manufacturers are like trying to aspire to now, like 4 years later.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you caught, there was a video of Palmer Luckey not too long ago, and he basically was kind of like asked about Vision Pro, and he basically turned around and made this statement that was, imagine you've got more money than you can spend. You'll never spend that amount of money, obviously talking about Apple in this case, and you want to bring a product to market and you want to say, look how amazing it is. And you turn around to Sony and say, what do you got panels wise? What's coming through the pipeline? And then they go, oh, we've got these amazing micro OLEDs, but they're not ready for mass market. No, we don't care. Give us them. We want them. We don't care. We're just going to stick them in our headset. He goes, like, imagine you can just do that and it doesn't matter to the budget. You could sell none of them and no one will care. And I looked at it and I thought, well, maybe it makes sense. But then on the other side of it, the way that Apple do their business is that they aren't in the game of intentionally wanting to risk a product being a failure because it's not ready and fit for market, they will cancel it unless it's fit for market. And this product was always touted as having, a decade's worth of, R&D in it. And so I don't necessarily believe what Palmer's saying, but I definitely do believe in the fact that, micro OLED was definitely a very expensive thing to decide on. And the yields are very low on them, or were very low on them. So the reality is how many they could make would have been nowhere near what they could do, for iPhones or iPads or anything like that. So maybe they weren't too bothered about how much they sold. They wanted a bit of hype. They got that hype, but they don't sell dev kits either. Apple don't do dev kits. They sell to everyone, and it's just, let's see how it goes.
I see.
Yeah. And I mean, what you're saying about the hype, I think that's true too, because at least within my own circles, I'm sure everybody else has different experiences, but within my own circles, if I talk to people about the fact that I'm in VR, I get one of two things. It's like, oh, if you tried the Quest, or, oh, if you tried the Apple Vision Pro. Nobody outside of VR really knows what the other, like nobody outside of VR is going to ask me about my experience with the Megane X Shift All 2, like Mark 2. Like nobody's going to ask about that, but they'll ask about the Apple Vision Pro, they'll ask about the Meta Ray-Bans, and they'll ask about the Quests. And so again, regardless of the fact that it didn't sell that many units, it did make a weird cultural impact in VR, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, I remember when the hype was kind of building for when they announced it, WWDC 23, and I was out in California at the time. I was at AWE, and you were hearing these whispers, Vision Pro, well, not even Vision Pro. No one knew the name of it, and that was a complete surprise at the time. It was one of the least leaked devices for actual images, I think, ever really for Apple. You saw some really janky drawings, and they looked like they got Apple Watch bands for the head strap and stuff like that, which I was like, are they really going to do that? That's going to be sweaty. I don't fancy that. But yeah. So from my interpretation of it was that we saw everything transpire at WWDC live. If you watched that event, and you got almost an hour and a half in, and we're like, this device is not coming. They've not said anything about this. And then literally right at the end, you get this one more thing, this revolutionary new device. Apple's going to sprinkle all this fairy dust and say that they've fixed the VR industry, which is obviously not the case. Call it an AR device when it's clearly a mixed reality headset. And my boss at the time had been constantly hyping this mythical device up as Apple are about to validate our industry. Apple are about to do it. And they kind of have, because like you said, the only other thing that people would talk about prior to that would just be Quests. Because really, not many people knew about them unless you were really into XR and you knew about Vive and you knew about Pico and you knew about, Pimax. People who are the unsavvy or untechnology aware would only know that Meta were doing the Beat Saber headset.
We get asked a lot, actually, because, I mean, it's 2026 now, but Preston and I first got into this in 2018. And when we started Fix My Oculus in 2020, it was like, why? We get asked now, why did you guys call it Fix My Oculus? You could have called it Fix My VR or blah, blah, blah. And it's because at the time when we were running VR arcades, we had HTC Vives, Vive Pros, Valve Indexes, and people would come in off the street, point at the headset and go, what kind of Oculus is that?
Yeah. The thing is, the before that, before obviously people were talking about tethered headsets, it was like phones in holders, Gear VR kind of things, and maybe just putting it in a cardboard box, which is just crazy to think that wasn't really that long ago, and then now we're talking about something like Vision Pro, and people going, what a terrible product. It's heavy, it's got lots of flaws. I'm like, man, I used to put a Galaxy phone in a plastic holder. That was how I used to like VR.
Yep.
Which is just wild.
Well, I posted that DK1 video last week, and one of the things that I say in the video is this was really the start of VR, for a lot of people. And I got a lot of dissenting comments that were like, VR existed before this, and my eyes just roll so far in the back of my head, because it's did it though? Did it? I mean, technically, if we want to get real technical about it, but not really. Come on,
I worked for AT&T for a little while back in the day, and this was when they started coming out with the Galaxy Samsung Galaxy phones, and they had the attachment that you had to buy, so you could, like you were talking about, you put it into the thing. And I had never done anything like that before, so it was a little unique, but it was not. I don't know. I'm not really sure why they released that product, but it was cool for what it was, but it wasn't. It was tough. It was tough for me to like be in that for a long period of time. But it was their attempt, right? It was their attempt to do that. So.
Yeah, I think that, obviously we had tethered PC VR headsets. We had those. If I remember like the first tethered headset was the Vive that I like genuinely had an opportunity to try and have a bit of free will and use the controllers. First one before it was obviously DK. But that was watching video. I was on like the side pod of a Formula One car. And I was like, at the time I was really unimpressed with the panels. I was like, I can see all the pixels. This sucks. I thought VR was better than this, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But then when the next time I tried it, it was like a number of years later, and I was like, this Vive is incredible. Oh my God, Google Earth. This is incredible, and having the untethered devices we have now are just incredible for the price. Quests are incredible products, and I will never say anything necessarily bad about Quests. Maybe their company a little bit, because I feel for the studios that have unfortunately been their sacrificial lambs, but that's the downside to it. But I love XR. So even though my channel on YouTube is revolving around Vision Pro, it's really because, I'll be honest, I was just late to the game of doing YouTube. Like, I should have done YouTube a lot sooner with the knowledge that I knew. And I thought, actually, Apple are about to come in with this product that is going to shine a light back on the XR industry, whether people like it or not. Apple coming into the XR industry. And also trying to change names of things like spatial computing and all of this stuff. But, it was a good time to do it, because in a number of years' time, it's going, their product line will evolve, but then there'll also be so many other people in that game that probably have decided that maybe that's the better way to go instead of sort of low costs. But they have to sort of show good value as well.
Do you think
Google as well?
Do you think, and this is something you said earlier, and it's kind of piqued my interest because I think maybe there's some insight that you can give us on it, but you said something about them maybe getting into the glasses side of things, or getting to some sort of more XR related product. And what is your thought with that?
I would be very surprised if Apple didn't do that, because they've clearly seen that it's sold well. Consumers are buying them and accepting them as well as like wearable devices. And I don't know whether Apple will try and do something different, or whether they may, who knows? If you think about it, like, I really, really like the neural band that Meta would out with the Meta display glass.
Very nice.
And
yes.
It's really cool. And I think that the concept of being able to utilize that type of technology fascinates me. And I haven't had a chance to try it yet, and I really want to. And I feel like Apple have got literally the market on smartwatches. Like, they just do. Like, I don't think anybody else can compete with them, So if they could do something with Apple Watch and some form of interaction with whatever that wearable is, that's a really cool product. And Apple will always try and do it better, or try and at least sell it to everyone that they've done it better. Who knows? It doesn't mean they're never first to this game. Everyone will go, oh my God, things like this came out years ago by other manufacturers. They don't. They just sit and wait for other people to do it, and then try and find a way to not necessarily do it better, but do it their way. So I think that they will. But again, how secretive they are on it, I feel like that could come before a sequel to Vision Pro, maybe, or even a cheaper Vision product.
That's what somebody was saying in the chat. He said, we're getting the Apple glasses before Apple Vision 2, which was exactly what you said. So I also find it kind of interesting, because when I purchased the glasses, and then I got Apple Watch for Valentine's Day, actually. Long story, but I find it kind of interesting that I'm wearing both, and I question whether or not I actually need to have both. The reason I have the watch mostly, though, is to keep tabs of the health benefit or health aspect of it. So if I'm going to work out, I can kind of keep track of that stuff. And I love that feature. And maybe it's only a matter of time before the glasses potentially have that. But I I have to question myself on whether I actually need both. Technically, I don't. I need the glasses to see. That's another story. But I have that. I kind of have that conversation with myself every once in a while. And do I need both of them? I like to have them, but I don't need both.
It's my biggest complaint about the neural band actually is that it has no additional applications. Like it should be tracking steps, it should be tracking heart rate. Like if it just did like a couple things, if it had a basic clock on it, like it doesn't have to do everything that the Apple Watch does, but if it had like 2 or 3 additional functional features, I'd probably wear it all the time. But it said I'm only wearing it when I'm using the display glasses, which does seem like just a friction point that they could have easily figured out.
And this is where I feel like Apple may have a little bit of an ace up their sleeve, because if they could find a way, and you can absolutely imagine that they've ripped that neural band apart and had a look at absolutely everything on the inside of it and tried to work out what it's doing, how it works, everything, and try and find a way to maybe do their own little way around the patents and trademarks and whatever they've got to incorporate that into future Apple Watches. That gives you both a device that's extremely informative, one of the best on the market for tracking fitness and sleep and loads of other stuff. Wish it had better battery life, won't lie. But on the other side of it, you have something that will then be able to interact with Future Vision Pros, glasses, like maybe even other smart devices in your home without you having to touch them. Who knows? I think that I don't wear a lot of jewelry as well. So all I wear is watches. So to have a watch, there's a double-edged sword for me. I love having a watch and I love having a smartwatch for certain different things. I don't like the fact that if I get a notification, people think that I need to go somewhere else. They're like, "Are you okay for time?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's just I've just had a notification. I've got to go home in 2 minutes." Like that. It's like it's kind of a little bit the same about the phone. If you get a notification on your phone. So having something like these are actually glasses from a company called Halliday. And I don't know if you remember, but they were at CES when I met you guys in 25. They were like one of the biggest talks of the show because they brought these glasses that they claimed were kind of discreet, had a discrete screen, but not in the lenses. And they had a micro projector built into the frame. They're cool. They definitely are a first generation product. They definitely have some elements about them that aren't perfect. But when you think about the ability to have that information discreetly given to you, and you can choose to decide whether you disregard it or not, is great. I don't do that. And then someone looks at me and thinks I've literally stepped away from the conversation. I love that. I might look like I'm having a stroke, maybe. Who knows? I'm not sure. But I have a quick glance up and then I know that that's just a Instagram notification that doesn't matter. I'm not out of the conversation still. So I do like the idea of glasses. I do like the Meta displays. I haven't tried them yet. I like the fact that they really went to the point of trying to make it a little bit more discreet front on so that you can see it, but others can't. Although I heard you can when it's dark.
It's really tough.
Good.
It's like has to be really dark.
Yeah.
Still,
yes, but it's that I like the idea that they thought about that instead of a lot of the waveguide ones where something's going on. You can look into the lenses, you see this kind of rainbow effect and these, rectangles or squares, and they're not normal lenses. So yeah. Anyway, I could go on for days with it, but I think that I like the glasses. I understand Preston's point about do you need a watch? Do you need the glasses? I just think that there's got to be a better link for them.
Yeah.
Because then, yes, you do.
Well, and Apple's really good at that. Like, Preston and I have this conversation probably quarterly about me trying to get away from my MacBook Pro and us trying to get away from iPhones. But the Apple ecosystem's just so hard to escape. It's like if my MacBook works with my Apple Vision Pro and it works with my phone and it works with my watch and it works with my Apple TV, like you start to develop this relationship with the devices around your house because I don't really have to. There's less friction to everything. There's less barrier to entry to everything. All of my passwords. Somebody was saying that in the chat. All my passwords are all in the ecosystem. And so if I had the smart glasses from Apple, and I didn't have to use Meta to access that, then maybe I would like the glasses and the watch paired together better. Maybe I could turn notifications on for my glasses and turn them off for my watch. And that way I'm not, causing these weird social interactions where, like you said, people go, "Oh, are you busy?" It's like, "No." Are you texting? No. because instead my glasses are just hooked up to my phone, or organically instead of like through Meta's weird way of doing it.
Yeah, and I will say this is going against my kind of Apple fan nature, but I have heard Mark Zuckerberg say on a few occasions that Apple are quite restrictive on what they allow Meta to give access to. They won't let you do certain things on iPhones. They won't let you do certain things on Apple Watches. And I can imagine that is a massive frustration for him, but they do it for a reason. They do it to protect that ecosystem. And if you're in it, you kind of appreciate it. If you're not, you just think Apple are just doing this walled garden and they don't want anyone to play in their party. And that's kind of the perception I think from a inside looking out at people, thinking that Apple kind of like to be over controlling. If anything, like, if you want freedom, then you go to anybody else. If you want that freedom, you can go to anybody else. If you want that really good linked ecosystem, there isn't a company I think that does it better. So it's just, that's the choice.
I heard him whining about that too. I think I heard it on the Lex Friedman podcast. He was whining about that. And I found it a little hypocritical, considering that he has been trying to create a walled garden within Meta for like years. Like nobody has access to the Meta exclusive games. Like you can't access Horizon without a Quest account. I mean, like they disabled all the API stuff for Facebook and Instagram, so you can't even like access a lot of that. So, like, you can't message directly, through like an email browser or something. Like, when we're trying to tie it in for like the sake of customers. Like if I wanted to like have like inquiries and leads from our Instagram or from our Facebook drop into like our help desk or something like that, you can't make that happen because Meta wants you to do it in Facebook Messenger. And so it's just a little hypocritical on his part. I get why it would be frustrating, but he just wants all the keys to the kingdom. That's what it is.
He does. The only thing that I also sort of find really hard to get my head around is that, we all know that Apple can be quite, or try to be quite, secretive. They all like to overhype, that their people like to overhype their products and say they're the best thing every year. And realistically, then you get someone like Mark and, people at Meta try and do very similar things in their keynotes at Meta Connect. And, they're amazing at what they create and stuff. But you also feel like you can't go without a month where you think there's some internal turmoil there as well. You sort of think, well, they're closing VR studios down. They're going to shut down Horizon Worlds. Their focus is going away from VR. They just seem to sort of like look a little bit fractured internally a little bit. So then as a potential customer, I'm a bit worried. And like, should I invest in their hardware products that they're making? Or is it going to be a brick in a year's time? Will they give up on that thing? They really got to have a better idea of how they either keep their internal things happening quiet, or they need to have a better marketing team, because it doesn't fill me with confidence to want to buy a product a lot of the time.
I think that's totally fair. I mean, when you see people who still have Quest 1s and are, like really trying to make them work, and people are upset about the fact that the Quest 2, which is still the biggest selling VR headset of all time, is getting wound down like at the end of 2027. I think they're going to stop getting updates like this year, and then they'll stop getting all their security updates at the end of 2027 or something like that. But it's like, you still have people out there running around on iPhone 5s, Like, I'm not saying that they get all the features and the updates and everything like that, but you can still get a lot of utility out of old Apple stuff, and all of the Apple stuff that I have, it just works. It works consistently and seamlessly. Plus the infrastructure for like repairs and third-party like repair support or first-party repair support is much better with a company like Apple. Meta, I think, has really struggled with that, which is why companies like us exist. It's like Meta doesn't want to repair the things. They don't have the built-in infrastructure to do it the way that Apple does.
No, and don't get me wrong, Apple, again, they have had a few departures in recent times. No one really understands the reasons why. They lost one of their chief designers to, of all people, Meta. Maybe they were paying more. That's the only thing I can think of. But it's one of those things where companies like Apple have like their rules, their set of rules, internal rules, probably. I obviously have been doing Apple related content now for nearly 2 years and had minimal interactions with Apple. You'd think that you'd have more because you're kind of technically giving them free advertisement, but they don't need it. They don't expect you to do it. And so from my standpoint, I don't expect anything from them either. It's just sometimes it'd be really good to kind of know that you're not that you're appreciated, that's a bad word, but kind of know that you're educating people, you're giving people knowledge, and you're hoping that they kind of like then think, well, actually, do you know what? Keep doing that. We like what you're doing. And actually, I managed to get an opportunity to go and meet some people at the European headquarters in November, which was really awesome.
What'd you do with them? Like, I mean,
So yeah, so the tangent I'm going on now is very much kind of like, again, they're very closed. They don't really talk very openly on many platforms, and obviously the people that I spoke to were very much marketing, PR. I got an opportunity to basically get a private demo of the M5 Vision Pro. Was taken through lots of different stuff that maybe you wouldn't get in store. A lot of stuff that I knew already. I got to try the PSVR 2 controllers, which in the US you can buy standalone from Apple, but you can't in the UK. So that was my first opportunity to do it. And it was more important to me to meet those people, not to just do the demo.
yeah.
Because then I kind of get to understand their culture maybe a little bit more. But again, still very sheepish. I feel no photos, no videos. I've got no evidence, so it's just my word.
Yes, where other than, just kind of upgrades or like hardware things, where do you see the Apple Vision Pro going over the next couple of years? I mean, we might get like an upgraded chip or maybe there'll be a version with upgraded displays or better straps or lighter or something like that. But I guess software wise, because we have talked a little bit about how it's mostly an entertainment device. Where does Apple take that?
One thing that I think Apple have sort of nailed with Vision Pro is the quality had to get to a certain point for people to believe in the technology. And for a long time, it was always budgeted. I always felt that the quality, unless you were willing to spend on a really high level, tethered PC VR headset, if you wanted standalone, you weren't going to get the quality. There was that trade-off. Apple then turned around and said, we're going to give you that, and you're going to have to pay for it. And I think my heart sort of sunk when I heard them say $3,500. And obviously for you guys, that's plus tax as well. So add the tax on too. For me, it was the same in pounds when they finally launched it in the UK. And I looked at it and was like, this is an expensive device for not many people right now. So what Apple need to do is they need to find a way to mitigate that. They need to bring that down. That's probably one of the biggest ones. And in the UK, they actually did with M5. They actually brought it down by £200 when they launched M5. They didn't do that in America, but they did do it in the UK. I don't know any of the territories they did it in, but
Interesting.
they did. So they did bring the price down here, probably to match the dollar value, maybe a little bit closer. But then I think the consumer won't pay anywhere near even that price drop. It's got to get closer to what Quest Pro was like, $50, $100 or under. And maybe they've got to work with partners. How I look at it, like if they could do it like they do phones, and they could work with carriers, and maybe they can do some sort of like interest-free, over a certain period of time. It may have their cellular chip in it as well, so they don't need Wi-Fi. You could just connect to a tariff as well and use it anywhere you want without the need for Wi-Fi. That's just a thought. It doesn't mean that they're going to do that, but they can, because they've just made their own cellular chip. So from that standpoint, then the accessibility becomes easier, because it's basically like they're selling iPhones again. And the device has got to be lighter. And the biggest problem I think Apple were always going to have was comfort, because there is so many different head shapes, sizes. How can you accommodate for everyone? It's almost impossible. I think it's impossible. You're always going to have someone that says it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So weight reduction will help with whatever they bring out in the future, whether it's a Vision Pro 2 or a Vision Pro Air. But I think there has to be an understanding that you can't please everyone. And I think Apple accepted that when they brought out Vision Pro anyway.
I was looking at some of the tech specs on the Apple Vision Pro, and I guess I'm not as familiar with it. So us having this conversation, I'm kind of getting a little bit more educated on it. But when I look at the Apple chips that are in the headset, I see two. Let me just pull this up real quick. But what I'm seeing is under chips, I see the M5 and then I see the R1. Does it have both in it, or what's that? Is that what that means?
Yeah. So what you've got there is a dual chip system that gives you the ability to both run in R1 all of the sensors and cameras and everything that required to obviously do real live scanning of your space without the need for doing boundaries or anything like that.
I see.
And then you've got the M5 chip for general horsepower, running the OS, running all the apps. So in some ways, it was quite a very innovative design. Initially M2, but you've got I called it a desktop chip. People argue with me all day long. It's not a desktop chip. I'm like, it's in a laptop. It's a usable computer chip in a VR headset.
Yeah.
Good one. It's not a mobile chip that's been kind of rebranded into something else. So from that standpoint, you've got immense power capability in M5. We know that the efficiencies and the ability to give you better battery life is good with M5 products in general that Apple have just brought a lot to market. But the R1 chip will get an R2 chip in the future,
Right.
and it's just going to be even better, lower latency, better bandwidth, and will run probably higher resolution pass-through cameras as well. So right now you've got a very, very powerful package.
Yep.
And it's probably underutilized for just being a media device.
I think a lot of the issues that we talk about Meta specifically in the chip issue that they've had. There was that issue. Was it last year where we talked about the Snapdragon chip? It's like they're not producing another Snapdragon chip because of reasons, and it's like, well, now you've got to wait to launch a headset. But Apple, being that they have their own silicon, it's like they have the ability to move forward, and they're not constrained by Intel or AMD or Snapdragon. They can just, okay, we're creating the M6 and we don't have to wait for anybody. We don't have to wait for a short. There's no shortage, there's no problem. So I always found that was a good play on their end. And it also ties in with a lot of you talk about a good ecosystem, but all that hardware is just, it's all made for each other. Where if you think you've got an Asus laptop or a Dell laptop, you've got an Intel chip with the real tech drivers, and it's all Frankenstein together. So kudos for Apple. They really do know how to make things just come together. And
well, because how much of the VR industry is just married to Qualcomm and dependent on Qualcomm's release schedule and availability of their product. I mean, 90% of it.
Hugely. And do you know what's going to be really interesting? And again, I can speak for Apple kind of basically being one of the first companies to release a standalone device with a dual chip system to run the hardware and the software independently, which, that's always been a problem with having a single chip mobile system, is that, you overload everything, it just stops working,
Mm-hmm.
Pico as a company have basically sort of put their eggs in one basket and decided to do the same thing. I don't know if I think they've gone away from Qualcomm and have gone for their own dual chip design in this Project Swan device that's coming soon. And let's see whether that gamble pays off, because as we've already said, people need to know who you are to want to buy your product. So is this device going to be aimed at high-end enterprise because the enterprise industry knows more about Pico? Or are they going to try and find a way to compete? And I think the only way they could do it, I genuinely think that they have a way to do it, and they've chosen to keep away from it, is that they need to utilize ByteDance and TikTok. If they utilize ByteDance and TikTok, I think they get more eyeballs on it massively. And they've chosen to be really against doing that. And I don't know why, because I think when Quest 3 launched and when Quest 3S launched, I saw more Quest 3 related content on TikTok than I saw anything to do with Pico, their own company that they own.
Yeah.
Which is wild, you know. This product's not going to be cheap as well. They're going to be probably in the same territory as something like, you know, Galaxy XR. It's got to be around those price points.
Well, and it'd be such an easy integration too, and the roadmap's already there because you can see like what Meta's done with the Meta Ray-Bans and their integrations with Facebook, Facebook live streaming, Instagram, like posting directly to Instagram from the Meta Ray-Bans, from the Meta Ray-Ban displays. And you could really easily create all sorts of footage, all sorts of content, gaming, streaming, just live streaming wherever you are, wearing a Pico Swan and post it right to your TikTok profile. And then TikTok, all they have to do is like promote that stuff just a little bit and just say, you know what, TikTok's gonna just give a 20% bump to anybody who's live streaming from the Pico Swan, you know, and boom. And now everybody sees it all the time.
Pico have always been a little bit of an oddity to me. I've worked with a lot of people at Pico in the last 5-6 years, and they're amazing people, but the turnover is constant. You know, you never last with the same people that you talk to. They always kind of move on. You don't understand what ByteDance are doing with them, whether they want to expand them, then retract them. It's a strange kind of company. They would sell a consumer device and then an enterprise device that's slightly different. And now they're going down basically like the Vision Pro road with like higher quality panels, this dual chip system. It'll be interesting to see whether this is something that they almost do in Apple and they just release it for everyone and then see whether people buy it. But without a marketing push, they're not going to sell many, I don't think, and they really need to. And I don't see any other better way than the fact that ByteDance, who own Pico, own TikTok. That is how they would do it. So let's see. We'll see whether they actually decide to do that or not. But it's fascinating to see them doing a dual chip anyway.
I still don't fully understand the hesitation on Pico's part to have an audience in North America. Like you were perfectly okay with having TikTok here for like 5 years, but years, like since 2020, and it was only like last spring or so that they like did the first shutdown. Was it last spring or was it the previous spring? And then the ownership swap only happened 2 months ago, 3 months ago, something like that. It was very recent, you know, so it doesn't make any sense to me why we just didn't have like Pico Force flooding the market in 2022, like to compete with the Quest 3 and the Quest 3S. It would have been great.
I don't understand either. The thing is, Pico have a US presence. As far as I'm aware, we've always had a US presence in terms of offices. Actually, I visited their offices in New York. They've got one in the TikTok headquarters. But it's just wild that the personnel they got there who were out and about doing their sales rounds and trying to get people interested could never really say when that was going to be available broadly. You know, it was just like, yeah, we'll soon. And it's a shame because they do make very robust devices. They are good quality devices. They're probably just as good as Meta Quests, if not better. In certain circumstances, I like the Pico 4 product line. They were really, really nice products for the price point of them. It's just that maybe it's the Chinese element of it, unfortunately to say. It's just that. And this kind of trust issues. You know, you look at what's happening with DJI and things like that as well. It's a shame.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That is a weird thing. Because they are so dominant in the industry.
Yeah, and I think that there was lobbyists. You have like companies like Skydio who really wanted them to lose a big portion of their sales market. And obviously, US is massive, but you know, I think that they'll come back because I think they're suing the US government. I think, or something I heard last. This is DJI, by the way.
Yeah.
Trying to look through that and look. Well, I'm just seeing a mini.
Pull up that DJI thing for me.
See what I've got here.
Pull up the DJI suing the U.S. government for me. Here we go.
While he's doing that as well, like I think the last drone that's going to be able to be bought or imported into the US is their new Avata 360 drone, which is pretty sick. If you want to watch 360 content in a VR headset. The fact that you can have it might make you feel a bit sick, to be honest. But it's like almost like a racing drone, but 360 content, which is pretty wild.
Oh, that was that other. Yeah, I saw that on there too. So, drone giant fight constitutional U.S. market ban. Huh.
But again, it's all trust stuff. So yeah, it unfortunately probably is why Pico are so affected.
Interesting. It's funny. I've recently been wanting to get a drone because I find myself I have this nice patio in my backyard, and sometimes I'm like just hanging out, and I think it'd be really cool just to like go fly around my neighborhood. I love the idea of doing that, but I don't know if I could. Do you have a drone, Ty?
Yeah. I had an Avata 2, which is a racing drone, and you've got the goggles, so you have to fly like you're the pilot in the seat, which is pretty awesome. And then I've got just a sort of general small mini camera drone, so that I can just fly it for fun and get cool cinematic footage and stuff like that. But yeah, maybe there's a market for Fix My Oculus to fix my DJI goggles as well.
We've
Talked about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we've talked getting into the drone repair stuff because I think it is a big market. By the way, just to the chat, is my audio any better? Is this better? Is this worse? I got in trouble last live stream because I had a noise gate on, and now I feel like I don't have a noise gate on because that was such a problem the last time, and now I'm getting an echo. So just let me know. Same, totally the same. Okay, wow.
I can't hear the echo on my end, so I don't listen on the OBS.
Yeah, I don't. It's just how's this not talk? You guys talk and have fun talking. Do your thing.
Okay, well, shall I start? Because I can talk forever. Because I'm British, so I can do that. So, what's Preston? What's your sort of first impressions of Vision Pro if you've had a chance to use it? Like, obviously, understanding the amount of headsets that you guys use all the time, understanding that Apple yes, they've got the lenses they have, that the FOV is not that wide. There are some compromises that Apple made. Even like things like eyesight, the screen on the front. What's your perception of it?
I was always a little scared actually to use it. I didn't want to break it. Sounds kind of silly, like being such a expensive product at the time. The other thing I've been trying to contemplate is how would I use this in a practical sense? So like, how would I use this on a day? How could I find a way to use it in a day-to-day scenario? But what blows me away the most though is the visuals. It probably is the prettiest out of all the headsets that we see, and we've got to experience. It probably is the most prettiest visually to me. And I like what you were saying earlier in our conversation, was that they're working really hard to make this into a visually stunning entertainment device. What I would love to do is actually sit down and watch a movie in it, and I might steal it here next week and the following weeks. And I don't know that I've actually got to sit down and watch an hour or 2 hour movie. Well, I guess it depends, or TV show, I guess. So, but I guess that being said, is the issue though with the battery life? There was this, I think, conversation was the battery life plus watching, let's call it Avatar. That's a pretty long movie. How does that? I guess I don't know how that works either. So can you plug in the battery pack and then just let it charge through, and you can watch
Yeah.
it?
So the frustration, I think, for a lot of Vision Pro owners when they first bought them, and they assumed that there would be some sort of port on the device that they could, plug into, put content on and things like that. And Apple have kind of intentionally kind of closed that down. So the connection to the headset from the battery pack that's tethered is like proprietary, but there is a USB port on the battery pack. And it will allow you to just pass through, power from a USB-C to C from your MacBook, and you can just keep powering it from the MacBook.
I see.
Or plug it straight into, mains power, or a really good battery pack, which I know sounds crazy, but if you were using this as your entertainment device of choice on a plane, You can take your battery bank with you, and you could have, double or triple the amount of life on it and watch multiple things. Yeah, or you could plug into maybe mains power on board a flight. But watching a movie is stunning in it, absolutely stunning. If I was going to give you, something to watch, it's definitely 3D content. 3D content, obviously Avatar, Disney Plus have a lot of 3D content. Watching things like the Marvel movies. But definitely get a chance if you go onto Apple TV, which is on standard on the device. There is a different section that you won't get unless you're on Apple Vision Pro, which is the immersive section.
Okay.
And a lot is this really high end, ultra high fidelity frame rate immersive media. And they've done a movie. It depends. Preston, are you claustrophobic?
I mean, if you take covers and I mean, kind of, but not really. It's whatever.
Okay, so they shot a 17-minute short film. It's called Submerged. It had a massive budget. I don't even. We got wind as an immersive filmmaker myself for my day job. The budget was into like double-digit millions to make it, and you think, where's the box office coming from? There isn't one. There's no box office money coming back for this film, and it was directed by a famous director called Edward Berger. And it's about people inside a submarine during World War II. And you are in the submarine. You are literally sat with the guys in this submarine as it's like bursting the pipes, water's everywhere, some crazy movement in it. But you are seeing everything from like 180-degree peripheral vision, all in front of you, all 3D, super sharp resolution. And when you come out of it, you'll just be like, where have I been? This was insane, and Apple are producing this content for Vision Pro users for free, and they've been making loads of it. And we talked just before we started the chat about the BBC Proms thing, which is like a classical music immersive video thing. That's maybe an acquired taste, but they've done they filmed a Metallica concert live, which was incredible. They filmed NBA. They're doing now that you can actually watch live LA Lakers games in that media.
Yeah.
Like you could sit in the front row of the court live. It's insane. And I can't imagine how much tickets would cost to be on the front row of a Lakers game. So that media, when that type of media, live media, is in concerts, is in sports, this device is where it will come into its own because Apple will have that access.
Interesting.
That's a great point. It's something I'd like to see more of. If you could watch all live sports, if you could get the live sports package, watch all the NFL playoff games and the Super Bowl from the 50-yard line, like watch the MLB package, behind the batter's box and everything in VR, or the concert series package. It's surprising to me that organizations like the NFL, the MLB, or even like companies like, Ticketmaster haven't come in and tried to optimize this hardware for themselves to make money that way. Because you could get a lot of people in who can't afford a $200 ticket or a $500 ticket or a $2,000 front row ticket to go see whoever, the Foo Fighters or whatever. But I can get the $10 monthly subscription and get access to their entire tour and their entire library. Okay, well, and I can watch old concerts too if I want to, and make those live events, and that seems just fruitful with content.
Yeah, and expand that further. Think about if there's like one-off events that you don't live in that country. Well, anyone with a Vision Pro in any country can basically buy that ticket to that seat thousands of times over, millions of times over. You want to go to the Super Bowl, and it's even better than maybe being at the Super Bowl in some ways for people that obviously can't get there and get that ticket. They position during the NFL games the camera sort of center court, front row, behind both baskets. So you are in not just one seat, you're like in the best seats in the house. And I think that at the moment they're kind of using it like a normal traditional TV network would do, and they would move from camera to camera for you. I think when you have that choice, you go, I just want to sit here, and that's where I want to be for the game. or I want to be behind the net, or I want to be in the corner of the court. You get to pick that seat because you've now got that monthly subscription, like you said, and it is your ultimate viewing experience for sports, concerts, whatever it may be. I know for a fact you could probably sell millions of seats to a Taylor Swift concert that might only happen like once. Someone would do that, guaranteed. But this is where I think the misunderstanding is, and I actually think that Apple have probably done quite a bad job of explaining what the product is in their eyes to the general public. I think that's the only failure, is that right at the beginning when they explained this new device was coming out, they didn't explain what their hopes for it was. They didn't really give anyone really a real true understanding of what its capabilities are. Because if you go too technical and you talk too much about it, people just switch off, don't they? So they had to keep it quite concise. And the best thing that they can do is just demo it, because the only way you can experience a headset is putting it on your head. It's the best way. So I understand the challenges of trying to sell a headset. I've had to do it for many, many years. And as a massive company like Apple, it's like, how do we sell a headset and get them to part ways with, $3,500? Very hard. So I think when you guys finally get your teeth into the device and maybe sort of switch, I really want to see you guys use the product to do full interactive 6DoF stuff. That's going to be amazing. I want to see it. But I think when you see what it's really capable of from the media side of it, you'll kind of understand why it's such a good device. Probably why Apple believe it's such a good device. It's like your own cinema wherever you go, but then you add the immersive quality. That's the point of it. It's the quality of the video that's never stepped up to that level. It's always been a little bit low, so low enough that you go, it's not quite real enough for me, or it's a bit blurry for me. And now it's at that level, if not better. Their desire is to stop talking about resolution. They don't want to talk about 16K or 8K. They're actually going to something called acuity, which is basically like, we want to get it to vision, like 20/20 vision. That's what their aim is for the video quality.
That'd be great. I think I get really frustrated with some of the attempts to do some of the VR immersive videos. So like, I know Horizons, they had their concerts, but I never felt like it was that it was okay for what it was. I get the point. Like it was okay. Like I would jump in, I get to kind of experience. And then the other thing is a lot of those concerts were it's music based, right? We were having that conversation, like you said, that for proms, it's like most of it's auditory. It's like, I want to have a nice
the audio quality needs to be really good if you're going to do that. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, and so I even get really frustrated with some of the YouTube immersive videos and the 360 or the 180 videos. Those are always just crap to me. I don't feel like they're that good personally. So
I think a good video, if you haven't watched any of the Apple immersive stuff, for you guys is a reaction to it. Because I think if your exposure has been predominantly Meta TV, immersive video on YouTube, this has leaped it by far. Like, and I'm in that world. That is my world. And I am envious of the people that own the cameras that can shoot this level. It's incredible. And obviously, if they get better, it'll be even more incredible. But I think that the reaction that you guys will have compared to what you've seen previously, night and day. Absolutely. And this is not me trying to sell Vision Pro. This is me selling the media type that they are pushing, they are peddling now. And they're not wrong. It is fantastic, the quality. And if they want to keep going with it, then that means Vision Pro keeps going and Vision products keep going. And I'm happy with a device that gives me amazing media. I'm happy with that, because I have got my Quest and other headsets to use for 6DoF VR. They're amazing at doing that, And don't get me wrong, not everyone's got that much money, or have that ability. You have to pick and choose, but you pick the device for what it's really good at, and that's what it's really, really good at. So
I could totally. Yeah, no, I could talk to you about it all day. I feel like I've probably played around with it more than Preston has, and I do agree that just the video quality, like the movies and the TV shows that I've watched with the Apple Vision Pro, like that is really good. The thing that I think really kind of blew me away, just like the first time putting it on, was obviously it pairs to your whole like Apple ID, your account and everything. And being able to see my photos in the immersive mode and feeling like, oh, wow, I'm back on the beach at Sugar Island in Pineville, Missouri. Like immediately was just because, and the resolution and the screens of the Apple Vision Pro are really the only thing that can pull that off. You can kind of do that sort of stuff in other headsets, but it's not quite the same.
Again, the fact that they've managed to also bring back what you would consider maybe old media, like you can utilize all your panoramas.
Yeah.
People have stopped doing as many panoramas these days, but once you have a Vision Pro, you've got a reason to shoot panoramas because it's like you've got like a full wraparound and you feel like you're kind of back to almost like real world scale of that place you went to years ago. I think I looked at half a dozen panoramas I took on like an iPhone 8 or something, or an iPhone 10. I can't remember when they brought panoramas out. I was like, this is awesome to see this place again. And then obviously on top of that, you can turn now 2D photos into 3D photos, which is amazing too. But it's not just 3D, it has parallax. So you can kind of look around it. It's using, I think, something that's almost like Gaussian splatting technology to give you that as well. And then you have spatial video, shooting 3D video on your phone. You can use the headset to shoot it as well, but I think it's a little bit lower resolution, but more 3D, which is weird. I don't ever really shoot a lot of 3D video with the headset. It's very strange.
Sure.
I don't really get it. They called it their first 3D camera they've ever made. And I'm almost like, but I've got to walk around doing this. That's very bizarre. Do you know what I mean? It's very bizarre.
Yeah.
Very bizarre. So I'm not quite so sure I was sold on that concept. Even now I'm not. But yeah, the user friendliness of being able to create your own media, even if you're not a big VR content maker and you haven't got a 360 camera, you can still shoot some 3D content or make 3D content with just your iPhone, which is great.
I'm excited to try it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna have to dive into it more. I think this
I'm gonna be texting Ty all the time and be like, okay, what do I do next? Okay, I did
must
this.
have apps that I need to download today that I don't have probably already. I think I've got the YouTube thing on there. Obviously, I've got all my like iCloud stuff, so my own photos and videos. What should I download first?
Are you a Marvel fan?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got to download What If. That's by Industrial Light and Magic's VR division, and it's awesome. It's not like sort of lifelike VR, but it's kind of almost kind of a little bit cartoony, but it's mixed reality.
Okay.
And it's awesome. So definitely want to do the story once you've done it. Unfortunately, they haven't brought out any extra chapters, but it's still pretty awesome to try. What else is there that's really cool?
Submarine thing we have to do that for Preston. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got to do that 100%, and you've got to get like there's two immersive things worth watching. The immersive submerged film is good, but it's a lot. But if you want to just have a little bit of a, let's just say, show reel of what Apple Immersive can do, there is like a one called Experiencing Immersive. When you watch that, you literally just get a flow through of so many different things, from like the Metallica concert, snowboarding, all sorts of stuff. So that might be a better reaction video because it might blow your mind. You've just been thrown to different places and teleported all over the place. So that'll be cool. Apps again, going back to apps. There's an app called InSpace, spelled INSPAZE, and that's a social platform. So you'll meet other Vision Pro owners, developers, filmmakers, and just general enthusiasts, which is really good because one of the things that I have a lot of conversations with is that frustration with things like Meta Horizon Worlds, where you go in there and it's just a lot of young people in there and a lot of noise and just the audience is very young. And then obviously Vision Pro is not going to be that way because of how much it costs and who could buy them.
Right.
You go in there and it's a much more mature crowd of people, far more aware of what they've invested in as well from that standpoint. So that's a really good one to go in and just pick people's brains, and you'll get new news from them as well all the time. I need to wrap my brains because there's a lot. There used to be not a lot, but there is a lot now that you can kind of go in and explore. So I will definitely wrap my brains for a few more that just aren't at the top of my head at the moment.
For sure. Well, that's over an hour, folks. Oh, whose timer was that?
Oh, that was mine. Sorry.
Ty's gonna
Must have known we were ended. Must know that we were ended.
Ty, I really appreciate your time, man. Thanks for coming on. And this is our first time doing this, so I'm glad we got a chance to do it with you. So
We talked about how long have we been trying to do this for? Like
a long time.
a year?
A long time. And do you know what? I like, we have good banter, British banter. It's always quite good to kind of just talk about everything, really. I could talk about all the other headsets as well with you guys, not just Vision Pro.
Well, I think we'll do that in the future. I wanted this to be the icebreaker because I feel like you're just
Yeah.
you're the Vision Pro guy for me. So, but I think we're gonna do more of these like guest live streams, and yeah, we'll get into it. I've got a bunch of new headsets actually that have just shown up recently that I'd love to talk to other people about. So.
Oh, of course. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what their thoughts are and your guys' thoughts are as always. Thanks for letting me part of the chat.
Of course, man.
Yeah.
Of course. Happy to have you.
Absolutely.
Preston, you got anything?
No, not at all. Again, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, Ty. I know
Alright.
it's getting late over there. You over in the UK.
Yeah. And the time
Awesome.
change, so
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
time change.
cool.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for coming and be a part of the stream. That's really all we've got for you today. So we'll see you guys on the next one.
And we're out. Well, I think we're pretty good.
I went, oh, good. The last question was, who's the guest? Link his channel.
Oh yeah.
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 I think that there's so many things. I know that, Dan, you've tried Vision Pro more than Preston, but there's so many things that, like you said, that they've done right, and then it's been copied. They've copied so many UI related things, Meta and Google Galaxy XR. So, when you're in it and you're wandering around, Preston, you'll kind of look at things and go, this looks a bit familiar, but it's like, where did that come from? It was the other way around.
I see. I'll have
The one thing that the reason, we didn't actually say it, but, we're talking about the dual chip thing as well. It not only does it scan the space, no boundary required, but that's the reason why you can have like multiple windows just everywhere, and Quest struggles to do that. I don't think Quest and I think even Galaxy XR struggles to do that. I don't know how many windows you can have open on a Galaxy XR, but they don't move either. Like, they literally stay where you are.
Yeah.
So you walk out the room and it's still in the room that you left, and when you come back, it's still there. It's pretty cool.
That's what I want to do. I think we talk about the Galaxy XR, and I actually had originally pulled up a comparison video, or sorry, where did I do that with that? It was the comparison VR compare video, but video. I don't know why I keep saying that. Spreadsheet, the sheet. But I thought, man, that'd be such a cool thing to see the difference between the two. And I feel like just looking at this, I feel like I'd still be blown away by the Apple Vision Pro, but I'm not got to put my head in the Galaxy XR yet. So I guess we'll probably end up
Me
at
neither.
some point.
You'll get there probably before me, because they haven't even launched it here, so it's not even available.
Oh, that's I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's why I haven't done a comparison on it, because I just can't get one. I could import one, but the reality is that I'd rather invest my money in upgrading to an M5 from the M2 Vision Pro that I've got at the moment. So
Yeah.
from that standpoint, it's not on my radar. I'd rather borrow one, and then I could do that review and then give it them back, because I'm not in the Android ecosystem. So it's almost like I'd be buying it for the sake of buying it, because I just like technology. So it wouldn't be something that would be my daily driver. Whereas I use Vision Pro for virtual map display, like massive screen when I'm video editing all the time.
Do you really,
I
Vision Pro? How much do you like that?
Oh, it's awesome. It's like I got this. The one thing that's really good about it is it does not require Wi-Fi to work. It needs Wi-Fi to be on, but it only needs to be connected by Apple ID. So I can use it on a plane, train. It doesn't need Wi-Fi connectivity to the internet to work.
Nice.
I didn't.
So as long as
That's interesting.
yeah, you can also mirror iPhone into it as well. So you can have like the iPhone in there as well. And you can see what you're doing as a virtual little screen as well. So that's quite cool. But yeah, I've edited, I would say, 95% of my videos in Map Virtual Display wherever I've gone, because it's just because once you turn it on, when you're connected to the Mac screen goes off, so you've got full privacy, so no one can see what you're doing on your Mac, and this big virtual screen is just in front of you, and you can make it a super wide curved display, or you can just make it narrower and however you want and as big as you want. So
I see.
I just pull out a massive timeline. It's great.
You know what we should have done, and I don't know why we didn't do this at the beginning. I know you had a minute to kind of talk about you, but we should, because you had mentioned it at some point, like middle of the interview process. But it was like, well, you do a lot of film, VR, XR. What you're.
Yeah.
We should have introduced that more at the beginning. Yeah, I don't know why that was just the next time.
Well, the good thing is. Well, the good thing is that, we had a few technical snags, and realistically, like, there'll be an opportunity again down the line to kind of have a slightly different talk, maybe anyway. So
Yeah.
when other products come out, we can have a conversation, and it'll be a refresh over what's going on, and that'll be the fun of it, really. So
Yeah. We're trying to do this every
time. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's the second time we've done it, but yeah, we're gonna be trying to consistently be doing this every Saturday. So it's the idea. Or week.
A lot of
awesome,
Phil.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I understand I've got some health related stuff that I've got to focus on. So, if you turn around to me and could you be a weekly guest, I'd be like, probably not. So it's absolutely fine in that sense. But I want to keep following the progress of it, because I think it's going to be really informative for so many people. And for me, like, I've got no doubt that I'm going to sort of get some sort of health back, and then it's just like all systems go anyway. It'd be cool to just be in it with you guys out there. That would be an amazing thing on one of them. That'd be awesome. It saves audio worries, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah.
Honestly,
I don't know. It's got its own
like we have
complications.
less audio issues doing it this way, because when we try to do it in the studio, there's always some sort of echo, or this volume's too loud, or this volume's like blah blah blah. At least here, I feel like I can fix it, and I'll have a lot of control, because I'm not having to worry about crossbleed as much.
Fair enough. That makes sense. That makes sense. Well, weather makes stuff easier.
That's right. That's right.
Basically. Loud.
Next time I see you, like, I'll fix my audio on your t-shirts.
There you go. Fix my stream.
Fix my
stream.
Yeah. Do you want to figure out the echo issue? Sorry, I just.
Yeah. No, it's all good. So
There was a couple audio channels open, and I don't know if it was just picking up audio from someplace else, but I just muted everything except for the three of us. Like, I wasn't getting any audio on anything else, but once I did that, it seemed like nothing else was registering as like on, but I just muted everything except for the three of us, and that seemed to fix it. So audio is coming from someplace. I just don't know where.
I see. Anyways. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Tyler.
Awesome. No worries. I'll catch you guys soon. No worries.